Good afternoon, everybody. This is Atmospheric Alex here, and welcome to another winter storm outlook and discussion. I know it has been a while since I've been on this channel, but I've been having to deal with quite a lot of end of semester activities lately, such as studying, for upcoming exams and stuff, and then it'll also be for studying for finals as well. There's been a lot of chaos lately, but I have been making my way through it, and winter break is finally on the horizon. And yes, I will remember to bring my channel logo back to the other laptop that you see below my head. I kind of like it a lot, and for some reason, I forgot to do that last time, so let's hope that I don't do that again. So we're going to start off the video with weather-wise here, as we take a look at our WSSI overall impact scale here. We're going to be talking about our winter storm risk, so you can see today we're not expecting all too much as our storm is just going to be getting started here, but some minor to maybe moderate impacts, but really won't begin to ramp up until tomorrow. And yes, all day tomorrow, we're anticipating major winter storm impacts here across Iowa and portions of Illinois. And so we're going to be talking about a very major snowstorm across these areas. And we're going to get very in-depth and in detail about what we could expect from this. And then day 3, obviously a storm is moving out, but you're still going to see minor to maybe moderate impacts in the morning. I do expect this to get increased a bit. As for your snow load as we go into tomorrow, I also think we could see maybe a moderate area right within here in that general vicinity, if you know what I mean. But we're talking about a minor impact in terms of snow load, but if we do see our higher end amounts verify, wouldn't be shocked to see a moderate get issued. Our ice accumulation forecast, unfortunately, we do have some concern of it across Nebraska here, Omaha. Yeah, take a look at this. We are talking about a minor risk of icing, though could we even see a moderate risk? Well, we're going to have to wait and see. There are a few models going a little bit aggressive on the ice. Going on through into day 2, you could see exactly what I was talking about. Yeah, we do have a moderate chance for icing here across Lincoln, Nebraska, near Omaha, Red Oak, York, Nebraska, and Nebraska City as well. You need to be extremely cautious out there if you're on the roadways. Now it's time to take a look at something incredibly awesome. This is Synoptic Weather here. This is their beta test version here, and I decided I saw this in someone else's video, and I'm like, you know what? This is an awesome website. I mean, you could do basically just about anything with it. It's very appealing to the eye. It's a bit bright, but I hope you all don't mind. We're taking a look at our HRRR model here in terms of our simulated radar, what it could look like. And you could see some of our snow starting to break out, across Sioux Falls, Des Moines here in South Dakota, Iowa, some portions of Nebraska with some freezing rain as well. As we go on through into this evening, our times are going to be right down here in that circle. Please, please, please look down there throughout the duration of this so you don't get lost into when things are going to be occurring, just in case I forget to mention it, which I do quite often. But you could see our snow really breaking out here. The bulk of our activity actually starts up here in Montana. This is where your system is going to originate from, so that does make a lot of sense, a lot of northern stream energy that far north. As we continue on through time here, you can see a moderate to heavy snow across much of Iowa as we go on through into tonight and into tomorrow morning. Heavy snow portions of South Dakota, Nebraska here. Let's go ahead and talk about this as we move into early tomorrow morning. I mean, we could be talking about a really intense front-end slam of snow here. Pushing on through into Quincy, Springfield, Burlington, St. Louis. You're going to have ginormous snowflakes out there falling. We're going to be talking about a lot of problems with your wet snow. And then areas back here, of course, closer to your low pressure center, heavy snow is going to be expected. Also, we could see a few rumbles of thunder and some lightning out of this big old batch right here that pushes on through St. Louis. Look at this. We're going to be talking about snow absolutely pounding and slamming down for multiple hours. But I think finally, as we get into early tomorrow afternoon, things are going to begin to let up here. and transition to rain. We're going to have to wait and see. You can see snow starting here in Chicago around 4 to 5 a.m. tomorrow morning and then continuing on through. But you could just see the size of this system. This is a humongous storm system here. It is going to be snowing for a very long time in Chicago. Look at that. This is going into tomorrow evening, and it is still snowing. I would like to note you do have a bit of a transition line that is actually pushing on off to the north due to our strength of the low pressure system. This is not a guaranteed forecast here, but we could see just some isolated pockets of melting here, as we head into tomorrow night, which would be some good news. And this actually ends quite earlier than forecasted, but you can still see lake effect snow on the backside of that as well. This is going to be an absolute mess for a lot of people. And now our roughs model here, we're actually going to take a much more zoomed out look at things. You can see very heavy snow moving on through into Iowa, going into tonight, into Nebraska, very heavy snow, heavy thumping, slamming of snow down here in St. Louis. That continues off. Evansville, you need to watch that as well. Look at portions of central Illinois, very deep blue colors here on your screen. Going to be seeing a lot of potential frontogenesis there as well. A lot of your most intense bands of snow are going to be right off of your low pressure center here. So that's going to be something to watch out for. Thunder snow cannot be ruled out with a setup like this, indeed. And you could see, again, look at this big monster here moving on across the Midwest. It really is going to feel like January out there rather than late November. Let me tell you that much. This moves into the northeast here, but it really begins to break up as our low pressure center begins to enter its occlusion phase, and it kind of runs out of warm air supply, if you will, and will begin to weaken, and so will most of your precipitation with that as well. You could see you still have quite a bit of snow going into Canada, but not as much as you did in the Midwest, that's for sure. Now, we're going to get a lot more detailed to look at your national blend of all models here. This basically blends in every single model you can think of and is very accurate normally. You could go ahead and see here, you could see the snow starting to accumulate across North Dakota, South Dakota, and then into Iowa. And take a look at this big explosion down here. We'll look at that in just a minute, but as we take a look here, we're talking about generally 4 to 6 inches of snow across these areas here. Locally, higher amounts of 7 to 8 inches are going to be possible in some areas of North Dakota and also in some areas of South Dakota. Here, just your isolated pockets of heavier banding. And we're going to talk about this big elephant in the room here on our next page here. One thing to note is the lake effect snow currently going on up here across UP and Michigan. Another few inches of snow are possible. But as we take a look here across our main risk area, goodness gracious, take a look at all of this snow. We are talking on your national blend of all models, upwards of 15 to almost 18 inches of snow across a very large area. So this is going to be quite a serious situation if your high end plays out, and it looks like it honestly could. Look at this here across Chicago. NBM showing anywhere between 13 to maybe 16 inches of snow. Portions of Wisconsin coastline here, of your Michigan coastline, pasted with snow here, and portions of northern Indiana as well. We can't leave you all out. In between 11 to 13 inches is definitely a possibility. So this is going to be a major situation. Now, for the Midwest, you all are pretty much used to stuff like this, but you haven't seen a snowstorm like this in the past few years, quite of this caliber. So you're going to have to get used to these winters again. Now, if that wasn't enough, here's your HRRR Kachira snowfall totals here. This really factors in your cold air, as you can see on your screen. Upwards of over 20 inches is going to be possible in central Iowa. That is a big deal. That's a very big deal. Portions across northern Illinois between 17 and 19 inches on this model. Chicago around a foot. Northern Indiana around 11 to 14 inches as well. This is going to be a very significant storm, especially for your colder areas. The snow will not take as much to accumulate. And then you can see down here, let's not forget about you all down here in St. Louis as well, some of your southern areas, maybe upwards of 6 inches, but That's not a forecast. That's a transition zone, and that is very, very hard to predict. Now, let's reiterate the same thing I reiterated 3 separate times before. Well, let's not say it like that, right? This is your National Weather Service ice and snowfall accumulations here. This is directly straight from the mouths of the professionals, of the officials here who know exactly what they're doing most of the time, right? We're talking about here your ice accumulation forecast here going on through into portions of South Dakota. We're taking a look here. We could have some very minor icing down here south of Sioux Falls, but really, I wouldn't expect too many issues from this just yet. We're going to be talking about generally between 4 to 6 inches of snow here across portions of South Dakota and portions of Nebraska here. You could see all your surrounding areas, pick out your city. Sioux Falls, 5 to 8 inches of snow here. Sioux City, 7 to 12 inches of snow. Again, find your city on here because there's a lot being displayed on the map. And I just refreshed it and it does appear to be working. That is fantastic news, right? Look at this. Yeah, Sioux City, 8 to 12 inches. Omaha, 4 to 6 inches. You're going to be in a very tricky spot, though, with this system, or especially just to the south that you all will be. As we take a look here at Storm Lake, 12 to 18 inches. That is a lot of snow for you guys over there. Creston, between 6 to 8 inches, but you could see, again, find your city. That is what matters. Your icing here is going to be a big, big issue. As we move south of Omaha, potentially up to a tenth to even a quarter of an inch of ice is going to be possible. So your roadways out there are going to be an ice rink potentially. Now we're talking about Lincoln here, York, Nebraska, upwards of a quarter of an inch of ice. Yeah, just imagine, that is not going to be a fun day at all. Now across portions of Minnesota here, between 3 to 6 inches in your Twin Cities and Minneapolis here, 5 to 8 in Marshall, 4 to 8 in Red Wing. And it looks like they just updated this too. This is from the National Weather Service of Des Moines, Iowa here. And this is going to be basically your crush zone here, for lack of better words, I suppose. Fort Dodge, 12 to 16 inches of snow. Waterloo, 10 to 14 inches. Cedar Rapids, 14 to 20 inches. Davenport, 12 to 20 inches. Washington, 13 to 19 inches. That is a ton of snow, folks. Dubuque, 12 to 18 inches. That is just not going to be fun at all out there. I mean, unless you like the snow. And I do like the snow, but having this much and knowing it's going to stick around for a long time, not exactly the best case scenario. Travel will be significantly impacted by this, but luckily you all have snow plows to keep you all in check. Now here's a little something. Here's your 10 percentile snowfall totals here. This is basically very unlikely, but this is your high-end amounts. 22 inches for Cedar Rapids. Holy cow, that is your high end there. A lot of areas. Anywhere that's in your red, that is very significant. That is over 18 inches of snow being possible, well, more unlikely in nature, but definitely cannot be ruled out, to say the least. Now, some other isolated areas here. Kansas City, you may be seeing a dusting. Same for Topeka and St. Joseph. Kirksville, 4 to 6 inches up here. And Jefferson City, maybe a trace. This is a little less of an impacted area, but kind of shows you how far south your snowstorm will be going. Now, as we look into Wisconsin a bit further here, you could see, basically, you see a lot of the same towns here, so we don't really have to go over this. Madison, though, 8 to 14 inches of snow. Now, a few other areas here. You already saw 14 to 20 for Cedar Rapids. Quad City, again, 12 to 18 inches. And again, some of these other areas here, 12 to 15 inches is a pretty safe bet, though again, wouldn't shock me if you see upwards of 17, maybe in some isolated areas. So quite a big range here. Keokuk around 7 inches, Peoria around 10 inches, Bloomington also around 10 inches. So this is going to be quite a significant storm. And I know someone who lives generally in this area here. You'll probably be seeing around, well, I'm going to go on the higher end. 10 to 16 inches is, in my opinion, the most likely outcome. Your absolute maximum here, goodness gracious, 23 inches for Sterling, 22 for Quad Cities, around 20 for Princeton. So your absolute high-end amounts, possibly upwards of 20 inches in a large area. Not a good situation, folks. Here's from the National Weather Service of St. Louis, Missouri here. 3 to 8 inches for Quincy, 2 to 9 for Adina. We really have no idea what you all are going to get over there, so I guess stay tuned for updates, right? That's crazy. 0.5 to 4 for St. Louis. This is because you're going to be on your transition line. It's not because a bunch of idiots are running the office or anything. No, it's just because it's a very hard forecast to pin down. 4 to 10 for Springfield, 6 to 12 for Decatur here, around 2 to 7 for Vandalia. Again, a lot of uncertainties, right? But just bear with it. Now, going on our far southern extent here, you can see Evansville, potentially upwards of an inch, but we'll have to wait and see. It's very uncertain, right? And we could potentially see some flakes getting all the way down here in this area here, down to Mayfield, Murray, Fulton, maybe Martin. You could maybe squeeze out a few flakes, but going to be difficult, right? New Madrid, maybe the same song and dance, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, going way up north here, we're kind of working in an odd order here. Very uncertain forecast for portions of Wisconsin. You could see upwards of 9 to 19 inches for basically this entire area. Yeah, it's a pretty big range, isn't it? So that's something we're really going to have to keep our eyes on, indeed. High-end amounts, again, upwards of 20 inches is unlikely, but not out of the question. All right, here we go. National Weather Service of Chicago. Apparently snow can accumulate on water now. Had no idea about that. They probably should fix this graphic a bit, in my opinion. But we're talking about here very conservative amounts, 8 to 12 inches for Chicago. I mean, I could easily see you guys getting upwards of 10 to 16 inches. I'm not even joking. Areas over here, again, I really would expect this orange contour here on your screen to go a lot further off to the east like this. I mean, it just seems like there is a possibility of that happening. So, okay, we're going to have to keep our eyes closely glued on this forecast here. Scalab, 8 to 12 inches. Valparaiso, Chesterton, 8 to 12 inches, but I think locally higher is going to be expected. Your high-end amounts, again, upwards of 20 inches. 2 feet for Dixon. Holy cow. But yeah, definitely going to be talking about potentially a much more serious situation out here than forecasted. Areas across here, 12 to 20 inches in Galesburg. They're going a bit aggressive here, aren't they? 10 to 17 in Peoria, 10 to 15 in Bloomington, 7 to 12 in Lincoln here. Finding other areas, Kankakee around 8 to 16 inches. So some more aggressive totals here. 20 inches in Galesburg. That's a bit far south, but I guess can't be fully ruled out, especially with your front end, thumping, your front end pounding of snow, if you will. High end amounts, again, around 20 inches. That's basically going to be the same song and dance for this whole system. Again, areas I do believe will see upwards of 20 inches. Just who? I don't really know just yet. It's going to be very isolated. Near portions of Michigan, 9 to 14 Muskegon, 9 to 17 in Grand Rapids, 11 to 18 in Kalamazoo. Lake effect snow will be possible once the system blows by. That's likely going to be causing higher totals along your lake areas. Other areas here, 10 to 16 in Michigan City, 4 to 8 in Fort Wayne, 11 to 17 in South Bend. Again, you get the idea here, right? 5 to 10 in Lafayette, that's kind of far south. Again, we'll watch what verification does. We're talking about some other areas here, 1 to 6 in Noblesville, 1 to 5 in Indianapolis. This is a transition zone, it's very uncertain. I mean, you can see it here. 1 to 7 inches in Terre Haute. I hope I'm saying that correctly. That is quite a big range, isn't it? So, geez, going to be a difficult one to pin down in certain locations. Alright, and with that being said, thank you all so much for tuning into today's video. With that being said, please smash the like button, subscribe to my little corner of the weather community, share this video with friends and family on social media, maybe even leave a comment in the section below, and please check out my X page. I'm going to have those overlays back up on the side of the screen. I'll be working on that. I have some stuff cooking up for winter for sure. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Stay very weather aware out there.